Sideshow. Larry Elder is the host of The Larry Elder Show on KABC and also the author of Dear Father, Dear Son, and he joins me now. Larry Elder, welcome to you.
Welcome. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
You've been pretty scathing about my interview with Rachel Gentile. Why?
I was, because you weren't doing her any favors by condescendingly trying to convince her that she's a victim. This is a young lady who didn't apply herself, a 19-year-old who's still in high school. Instead of saying, young lady, take this as an opportunity to take stock of your life, you treated her like she was a victim. And that's how you're doing this whole thing about race and racism. 7,000 murders last year, Piers, of black people. Almost all of those were committed by black people. Since Trayvon Martin has his unfortunate death, there have been 480 blacks killed in Chicago alone. 75% of those crimes have been unsolved. Where are the cameras? Where are the shows? It's outrageous to act as if Black America, Black America should fear some non-black guy stalking some black kid at night. The likelihood of a black person being killed by a non-black person is extremely remote, which is why this became a big national issue in the first place, Piers.
Right. It's perfectly possible, as we have shown on this show many times, to be justice exercised by what is happening in Chicago, which is an absolute national disgrace to America, frankly, in terms of the outlandish...
But you're not, Piers.
Yeah, but I am,
7,000 murders last year.
I don't think you watched my show, Larry.
Wait a minute.
I don't think you watched my show.
Half of the murders in this country are committed by black people, even though black people are 12% of the population, which means 6% of the population is committing almost half the murders. And you throw out the old people and the young people, Piers, you're talking about 3% of the population committing almost 50% of the murders.
Fine.
This is why physical people
Larry,
profile.
if you just calm down for a moment, Larry. Here's the point I was going to make.
I'm quite calm. I'm just bothered by how you're handling all
Larry,
this, making black
let
people
me speak, Larry.
It's nonsense. It's nonsense.
Larry,
you're a liberal guy, bleeding heart liberal person. You think you're doing something for black people. You're not. You're making black people feel as if they're under siege. And it's not true. It's an outrage.
Thank you, Larry. If I could just get a word in, that would be great.
Sure.
Here's my point. I completely agree with everything you're saying about Chicago. All right? Let's just get that on the table. I've been saying this repeatedly on this show. It's a disgrace what's happening in Chicago, particularly with all these young black teenagers killing other young black teenagers. And the president and people down have to deal with it. But let's get back to the Zimmerman trial. Let's get back to my interview with Rachel Gentile, because you tweeted some ridiculous things. You tweeted at one stage, would I like Rachel Gentile to fly my plane? Why would you say that?
I'll tell you why I said that, Piers. I'll tell you why I said that, because after you interviewed her, you condescendingly went on television the next morning and called her one smart cookie. Bull. Why don't you hire her as a nanny? Let's see how smart she is. It's a condescending kind of thing.
You think she's stupid, Larry?
To black people. I think you're stupid for saying that kind of thing to try to get black people.
That wasn't my question.
Race and racism.
Do you think Rachel Gentile is...
When it doesn't.
Do you think she's stupid, Larry?
In America anymore, Piers. Racism is not a major problem in America anymore. The number one problem facing black people are the large number of black people born outside of wedlock. 75%. In 1960, 5% of all people in this country were born outside of wedlock. Fast forward, Piers, the number now is 43%. You look at that for crime, dropouts, all that kind of stuff is connected. The other big problem facing black America, Piers, is the economy. 1 in 2 black men does not have a job. And one of the heads of the Congressional Black Caucus once said, if a white person were in the White House, we'd be marching on the place because of the high unemployment. But we're talking about Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman as if it's the number one problem facing black America. It isn't remotely on the top 10 list.
Okay, Larry, this isn't a sort of competition to see who can be the greatest filibuster in my show's history.
I'm not trying to filibuster.
If you could just get back,
common sense.
I'm not
hearing on your show.
Let me just get back to the question I asked you and see if you can actually answer the question. Do you think that Rachel Gentile is stupid?
I think that I would rather have a George Zimmerman living in my neighborhood, and maybe if George Zimmerman were living in my neighborhood, we'd have fewer Oreo Castros. I thought we wanted people to be proactive.
That wasn't the question, Larry.
Say something. I know, I'm answering something different that ought to be answered.
Could you just answer my question?
George Zimmerman like he's some sort of criminal. He's not a criminal. He's
George
a guy
Zimmerman
who cares about his
shot
neighborhood.
dead an unarmed teenager.
He's a neighborhood watch guy. Don't you want people who are proactive? And there was crime in that neighborhood, Piers. I live in South Central.
There wasn't crime from Trayvon Martin in that neighborhood.
The burglar bars are not on there because of George Zimmerman. They're on there because of the minority of thug in the community that's messing up everybody's image and reputation. This is why people profile. Instead of being angry at George Zimmerman, be angry at the minority of the thug who's committing these kinds of crimes.
Okay, if I could jump in again. So, just to clarify, though, Trayvon Martin wasn't committing crimes in that neighborhood, was he?
It was an unfortunate incident Two people have preconceived notions about each other. It never should have happened. Doesn't make George Zimmerman a criminal. I used to work in the DA's office, Piers. I'm telling you, it was a dog case, a reasonable doubt case. Nobody I know would have filed the case.
Yeah, well, we disagree, obviously, about that. I think it's completely wrong.
Obviously.
That George Zimmerman should get no punishment at all for killing an unarmed teenager.
He's got serious punishment. He can't go anywhere. Are you kidding? He's a marked man.
What?
He's going to be sued civilly. He will never have a moment of peace. He killed somebody. Morally, he's got to deal with that, Piers. He recognizes that. He's not in
Larry,
he recognizes what he did.
I may respond. Sure. You know, some people would say that he's got it easy compared to Trayvon Martin, who he killed. So much as people feel sorry for George Zimmerman not being able to lead the life perhaps he wished he could, at least he can lead a life. At least he can lead a life.
Nice to have had a George Zimmerman in Cleveland and maybe already.
I don't want George Zimmerman doing my neighborhood watch patrol. No, I don't. I don't. I've got 3 teenage sons, Larry. I don't feel comfortable having somebody like George Zimmerman marching around as some wannabe vigilante, armed with a gun, potentially killing my kids as they come home from a store with a bag of Skittles and a can of soda. No, I don't. I don't feel comfortable.
You live in a wealthy neighborhood, gated community, plenty of security. You don't have to worry about that. Live in South Central. Come down to South Central sometime. See what's going on down there. They're not worried about George Zimmerman. They're not worried about Mark Furman. They're worried about the thug down the street coming from a single-parent household, and that situation has been created by the left-wing people like you who feel sorry for people, and therefore you want government to take care of them. You think government is the way to happiness and prosperity? Go to an Indian reservation sometime and see how they're living.
Okay, Larry.